protocols of what actually went down are hung, as well as the principal attendant. The organizer of the gathering was Reinhard Heydrich, and his assistant was Adolf Eichmann. And to me, I like the idea that they're all here in 1942, not knowing that 75 years from now, we'd be meeting Israelis outside here, coming to see a tour. So Am Yisrael Chai. But that C.S. Lewis quote is what I want you to bring with your head. This is an SS villa, beautiful area on the lake, a nice train ride from the center city, half an hour. They would, hop there to just come relax. This is like a club, and then this is where they would come, and this is where they had the meeting. And so, anything else we need to know before we head in? The DDR, in whose name every German sentence is too long. You have to go to the end to figure out what they're trying to say. What a weird language. Dana, there's nothing. Yeah, we're going to be looking at tomorrow, that I'll be speaking about tonight. Were once in this palace, but now they're all in the together. But there's a few there's not a lot of famous paintings here. There's one Caravaggio, which is very famous, but there are a few things that are very interesting. A bunch of these are Rubens, but
they're School of Rubens.
Yeah, some of these are School of Rubens, some of these are Rubens himself. This is called School of Rubens, which what Rubens himself painted and it's very rare that actually the things that came from his gallery were often created by his students. If you've been to the National Gallery and you've seen the Rubens of David and Abigail, and Daniel in the Lion's Den. So that's the very large painting is Daniel in the Lion's Den. There too, there's nothing, Daniel does not have a beard. He's a chiseled abs, right? Looks like, an Adonis. But he actually wrote Peter Paul Rubens with his own hand. That's what he wrote, because very often his students would do it. If you look right over here, this is Rembrandt's friend. It's a Dutch painter by the name of Jan Lievens. Both Rembrandt and...
Excuse me.
Yeah. That's exactly the
Fingers. He puts his dirty nails in the
So this is right. So Caravaggio was himself both one of the few Italian masters who was also a murderer.
Exactly.
And his paintings are incredibly physical. And so he has the gift both for painting in a way that almost looks like a photograph, and the fact that he can actually draw people like that is actually amazing. But he'll take every biblical story and glorify it as much as possible. So to take Jewish stories, the most famous example of this is the Judith and Holofernes, the story of Yehudit, where he has a very famous painting. Most of them depict Holofernes, hiding the head or other things. Judith hiding Holofernes' head. He depicts her chopping off his head. And so here he just takes a famous Christian story where Jesus reappears after the crucifixion, and Thomas doesn't believe that it's him. And so then he has to see that he's real. But the way he does it is that he shows him actually poking his finger into his wound.
This is dirty finger.
And Caravaggio, very famous Caravaggio, of course, is David with the head, Goliath with the head of David. David with the head of Goliath. And what Caravaggio does is he draws Goliath's head as his face, as himself, recognizing that he himself is an evil person, right? It was a gift for that.
He died quite young.
This is a very famous, probably the most famous painting in here, I think, right?
It is.
So, this is not a very Yiddish-looking man. So, you just get a sense from the different paintings here, Italian, Dutch, Catholic, etc.
And this
These are idealized. Whereas Rembrandt
suffered the most from the war. But in 1958, about 60 pictures came back because here in East Germany said, well, we are now forced to be your friends, political friends, so you could give us something back, and that's what they did. Even the Pergamon altar was in Russia, transported to Russia, but it came back finally.
So these pictures were in Russia?
Many of them, yeah, and they came back. But there's still a lot to go on. We had 180 at the time of Frederick, and I think about 868 or something.
Last of his nostrils. Okay. So you will see tomorrow it says something like Moses to Shmetter die Gesetze. Oh, okay. Moses to Shmetter die Gesetze. Moses shatters the tablets of the law. The truth is, as I will argue tomorrow, that it may not be what's being shown here at all.
Right.
And that actually what may be shown here is not the destruction of the luchos, but the restoration of the luchos, meaning God's gift of the second set of luchos tomorrow. So you'll come to the museum tomorrow, and you will see. There'll be an audio tour they give you audio guides, and there will be numbers. At least this is based on what I saw when I was there a year ago, with numbers on the paintings that they consider most important to understand. There will be no number for this. And all it will say is Moses to Shmetter die Gesetze. Any discussion of the link between this Moses and the Jews among whom he lived will not be told there. I'm not blaming the Gemelda Gallery. I'm not sure they know much about it. I'm not sure for most visitors that's what they find most interesting. But nevertheless, it is a very sad testament. Moses to Shmetter die Gesetze, and it's a testament to a world that was itself. It's a Shmetter that was shattered. Because, as we will see, the very world of the Jews in which Rembrandt lived, we'll see remnants of it. And much of that world is gone. Right? The Amsterdam Jewry was destroyed to an extent parallel